2,000 years ago, or 50 generations, the West, Europe, England, all around the Mediterranean and fairly deep into Asia, was ruled by a totalitarian government coming out of Rome. And today we have the world ruled by a totalitarian government coming out of Rome. Roman Empire seemed to have disappeared, but actually became the British Empire, which took the skirting of the Mediterranean and turned it into the sun never sets on the British Empire. Then the British Empire faded a bit, and the United States of America became the military arm of the government coming out of Rome, which is why you see all the presidents go to Rome to kiss the ring. So not much has changed. Jesus, or Yeshua of Nazareth, came with a new philosophy for the world, for which he was killed. He was saying that we could probably do this in a better way, and 2,000 years later, we have the oncoming resuppression of Christian philosophies. This will be about how you can fight back against the onslaught of totalitarianism. This is being done by billionaires, trillionaires, who want to rule the world, which is a non-sane idea. I don't think anyone has the beingness to hold that position. There might be someone, but he or she will never get there, based on the tsunami of corruption you'd have to get rid of to do that. And then you would die. And then what? So the large money people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos got that money from owning things online where they get a little bit of money from everybody. You know, if I could get a dime from everybody in the world, I'd have a lot of money. Jeff Bezos owns Amazon, I believe, and if you stop buying stuff from Amazon, that would cut into his money flow. Plus, it's destroying billions of small retailers. Elon Musk used to own PayPal. That's where he got all his money. Someone else has PayPal, but Elon Musk was more altruistic. He built the second electric car, actually. GM had electric cars. I don't know when. My brain's telling me 1984. Around the time of the second Fast and Furious movie, there was one of those cars in there. And there's a documentary called Who Killed the Electric Car? All those cars were recalled and torn apart in junkyards by the thousands. And logically, you would look for the oil companies, the gasoline companies as the culprits. We're getting that to happen. And this cuts like a knife into what goes on in the halls of Congress and parliaments, where I'm sure somebody said, we should have electric cars. And yeah, that's a great idea. And then somebody paid somebody to vote against it, because if we move to electric cars, the gasoline companies would lose all that, all the people who have gas stations would lose all that, all the motor oil people would lose all that, all the mechanics who work on cars would lose all that, and the companies that make tools for them would lose all that. So it's too big an economic change to allow at the time. I have an acquaintance who has a medical research company and came up with some pretty amazing stuff, and a business friend of his said medical's 10% of the economy. They're not going to allow you to do that. Okay. The reason California gets to stomp all over the place and do what it does is in the Reagan era, California was, if it was a separate country, would have been the 5th largest economy in the world. And now with the addition of Google and Silicon Valley, it's probably even bigger than that. So it's a force to be reckoned with. They say that online, even that Facebook's in trouble because people are upset by the policy of selling their information. Which leads, cutting like a knife through, to something called target marketing, where if you're a business and you can get a list of customers who are interested in your product, sales will go up, and you can spend the money you do spend on advertising is less wasted. I think 80% of money spent on advertising is wasted because it goes to people who are not interested. So of course target marketing is a good idea for business. And our personal information is being sold by information gatherers to businesses. They're making money from our information. We're not. And then you get ads popping up on your computer screen, and your telephone is, your phone is listening to you, and you talk about something near your phone, and suddenly that pops up on your computer screen. Oh, this is okay-ish. But people rebel by voting with their feet when they find out something's happening. Like recently, PayPal was going to join in on the totalitarian movement by censoring those who want to talk about the totalitarian takeover. Which is caused by the planets coming too close and turned over into a money grab. And on a smaller scale, everything's being pushed online, which gives control of the economy to a smaller and smaller group of people, and destroys the middle class businesses. And when they're gone, it'll be like Russia, where you have to line up for 2 days to get a pair of shoes. Because there's no shoe store. And this thing I'm doing here, I finance by myself. I've been doing this since 2010. I've been through at least 5 iterations of computers and external hard drives and different cameras that have burned out. The same Jesus of Nazareth said, take neither purse nor script. The laborer is worthy of his hire. He said this to the apostles. And what he meant by that is the purse is like a wallet, it's your money. So if you're going to prophesize the new philosophy, or spread, that's what that means, talk to people. Don't do it with a bunch of money in hand. Script is Latin for letter of credit. And what he meant was, when you're going to a new town, don't show up with a letter of credit from somebody rich. Get a job, work your way into the community. And by example, spread the new philosophy, which is non-totalitarian, non-militaristic, taxation and stealing, where the 1% of the top just demands free stuff. From the many, this is criminal think, which is I must have, but I can't work for it. So I see hundreds, if not a couple of thousands that I've personally seen, that people have blogs or videos on YouTube, and then in the end they ask for money. I have a Patreon, I have a PayPal, you can buy t-shirts, etc. This is grasping on to the exterior walls of what's going on with Amazon, PayPal, Google, and any other monstrous sized internet entity. And it would be more ethical to do that without asking for money. I believe, for example, that many people who were doing the blogs on Game of Thrones made hundreds of thousands of dollars over those 10 years. And that's why they're so upset when it ended, because they lost a gigantic revenue stream. And that was never told. There was no way to account for that, but if someone had 30,000 subscribers and got $10 from each one, that would be $300,000. Pretty good living. So this makes you a psychopath of the system. And I don't recommend it. this flow of energy, money is being turned into digital numbers, which will be very easily controlled. You can just flick a switch and turn off your bank. As we have seen in Canada with the truckers' convoy, they went after their bank accounts and their insurance companies, and people tried to crowdfund it, and they went after the crowdfunding companies. And crowdfunding was a way for the little guy to fight back. You can say, I'm experiencing a major injustice. I need a really competent lawyer. Will you please help me? And there's been quite a few wins in that area. Well, this was an end run around the suppression by large forces. We'll see how that goes. This YouTube itself was an end run for a while around corrupt government, because you could expose things on a worldwide basis. And that's being hacked away as much as they can. I had 480 videos on here, and they were just expunged one day. Poof. No explanation, no recourse. Of course, it's a free service, so one cannot complain too hard. But is it a free service? In, let's say 2010, there were a lot of people saying that the internet is owned by FBI, CIA, all the alphabet soup agencies, and they're using it to spy on everyone, and there have been big lawsuits about that. You're spying on us. No, we're not. Yes, you are. We caught you doing it. Oh, well, we'll stop doing that. Luckily, years ago, when they were doing the fiber optics from Texas to Seattle to Toronto to New York to put in fiber optic internet, I learned from one of the technicians that the internet was invented by a guy, a scientist. It was to move scientific papers between universities, and it was purchased by the U.S. Army, and they set it up so it could not be taken down because it was a matter of national security. And that's where it still lies. So that's government owned, and at some point CIA, FBI, DHS forced the large tech giants to give them a machine that would sit on their data line and make copies of everything. And this is done against the will of the owners of things like Google and Facebook. They were given immunity from prosecution over content as in exchange for that. So beware on the line. It's not real. It has an influence because it is a communication, but it can be turned off, or if there's an earthquake, it'll be turned off, and you won't be able to access information, your recipes, your bank, your mother in Toronto. And you'll be back to radio and the 18 miles you can see with your eyes to the curvature of the Earth. What I'm smiling at is every day to get past to something real. I see hundreds of people with a blog or news, fake news studio where they have a studio and they have a name and trying to make it look like more than it is, with a picture of Donald Trump and a caption that says basically Donald Trump has been made president after something was discovered. Stay tuned. And I just scroll quickly along through the whole thing, and there isn't even a mention of Donald Trump. This is fraud. And this leans on they're so desperate for clicks and any money that would come in from that, from the advertising, that they lie. And this is the online money. Online money. This, to some degree, is unethical and is polluting the zeitgeist. And if you want to see something interesting, the implementation of the War Measures Act in Canada is on trial. There's a public inquiry, which is going to be 6 months long. 65 witnesses will be appearing, including the Prime Minister, and that's so far. And the witnesses talk for 1 or 2 hours. Now contrast that with the Senate committee hearings where you get 5 minutes to question the witness, and that's it. It seems silly. You have someone who is incisively questioning the witness, and the questions are designed to prove the guy lied or did something criminal. And just when he gets to the point where the guy has to answer, the gavel comes down, your time is up. They go to the next guy, and the next guy's always from the other side. And his comment will be, so Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so, you're the greatest person that ever lived. And the person said, yes, I am. Also in the same vein, on YouTube you see a senator or a member of the House, I don't know what they're called, but they're making a 20 to 40 minute speech, pounding on the desk for truth, honesty, and justice, and they're being videotaped, but the room they're in is basically empty. There's not 280 people sitting there listening to this. And this speech is supposed to influence how they're voting, because this is the truth of the matter. Oh, I didn't know it was a lie and BS and there's scams, so of course I will vote against it. That's not what's happening there. And that 20 to 40 minute speech is promo for that man to get reelected. Look at me. I'm a hard-hitting, hyper-intelligent representative and deserve to be here. And it's the campaign donations that got him there, where he's able to do television ads, radio ads, put up signs. Which leads back to what I said much earlier, is the corruption of government by lobbyists who offer to pay for the promotion of these people. And behind that is this person, the or a person who could rule the world. Would he be powerful enough and ethical enough to hold the world spinning in his hand and make it a better place? So even Jesus couldn't do that, and they killed him for trying to do it. And the result of him coming here was not to save the world per se at that time, but to create the West, to create Christendom, which is based on the new ethical format proposed at that time. So before the Roman Empire, we had barbarism, or savagery. Roman Empire is barbarism, government taxation. We're doing this for your own good. And in trying to undo that, he was labeled, you're a revolutionary. We have to. It's against the law. You're trying to bring down the government. Which is the apparent legal reason, but the real reason is you're interfering with our money flow, and that cannot be allowed, so you have to go. And when I was a little bitty conspiracy theorist, one of the top people in the field said, don't mess with the money or they'll kill you. So we sit here, supposedly waiting for the second coming of that being. And he did say, all these things ye will do and more. So don't sit on your hands and wait for the second coming to magically make things better. Do what you can. I do this. I did manage to reach 1.2 million people before. And I stopped doing all the unethical things that I was doing before. So I'm not creating any more damage, and I'm trying to help mitigate the situation we find ourselves in. As a side note, there's supposedly a catastrophe coming next year in October. 4 planets are going to line up and cause the surface of the Earth to ripple, and there'll be earthquakes and tsunamis. The Earth might actually flip over a quarter turn, pole shift. I don't know about that, but some of this has been verified by core samples that happens every 10,000 years. and we're overdue. Jeff Bezos has gone to one of the safe zones. There are people who have worked on this, and they said if this happens, these are safe zones. And one of them is Western Australia, for example. Another one is we're pretty close to Area 51. I think it's Nevada. Jeff Bezos has a bunker there and a spaceship. And I guess he bought the spaceship from Elon Musk. But if the Earth flips over, he could go up into space and wait it out and come back down. But did he tell you this is coming? No. This is unethical. The excuse is, well, people will panic. They'll panic by all the food and survival things, and they'll stop going to work, and the economy will collapse. As a planetary civilization, we could prepare for this. Rather than being blindsided by one day the Earth flips over and you look out your window and you see a 12,000-foot high tsunami coming your way. Since we're in this area. Also, we're due for what's called a micronova. The sun does a burst and sets fire to all the gas and dust that's in the interior part of the solar system. And the Earth gets hit with a blast on whatever side is facing the sun when this happens. This is probably what happened to Mars too. The atmosphere was blown right off it. So the combination of these two things is what was told about in the Bible, because this is a repeating event every 10,000 years. And in that format, it's called end times. So Randall Carlson is who you want to look at on YouTube. He's the expert in this. He explains it, and he does expeditions out to areas that were destroyed and takes scientists, they do core samples to verify this. So please do that, and please prepare for bad weather, earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis. Where I am at this moment, I'm probably 15 feet above sea level. There's a river out here, and when the tide comes in, it goes upriver 50 miles. So if there's any kind of tsunami at all, this place will be inundated. A tsunami 90 feet tall would go 100 miles up the valley, take out everything. There's one natural gas pipeline coming into the city. There's 1.2 million people here, and if the natural gas goes down, that's all a lot of the cooking and heating. All the schools are heated by gas-fired furnaces. So we're not prepared for a mega disaster, and the amount of death from starvation and exposure would be a tragedy. They say there's not enough food for the people here, and it'll get worse in the future. The Buddha said wars are caused by famines. So Please take every square inch of ground around you and plant a garden. And I'll leave it with that.